I'm the CMO at Orthors, so essentially I run all the marketing and social and liaising with the brands.
Hi, my name's Max. I'm the CCO. I deal with all the kind of creative stuff, everything visual. I do video editing, UI, UX, animation, all that kind of stuff.
And I'm Taylor. I'm the tech lead, but as we're a startup, we're kind of all utility people. We've got to do everything within the business. So that's pretty much us. And how we met is through, I knew Max from when I was young. Our parents were best friends. We then gradually progressed in life and then met Yasin through college. And then through university, our friendship kind of blossomed. And then from then on, we kind of created what we have today, which is Orthors. So today we're going to kind of run you through what it takes to be a Black-owned, is that the right way of saying it? Black-owned gaming company. Yeah, Black-owned gaming company. And the steps we've taken to kind of run it as a business. We'll be going through gaming, branding, and then finally the kind of business that goes behind it. But first off, we're going to start with gaming and how we initially started off our whole approach to gaming.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of just started off as a kind of a passion project, more of a hobby than a business, of just kind of developing games, not really thinking about the technical sides of developing them, but just kind of coming up with ideas, creating characters and whatnot, and having no real thought into how you're going to come about and make it. I don't know if there's anything else you don't want to add.
Yeah, and then from there we kind of knuckled down, as we come from a design background, just kind of wanted to figure out how we can use our skills a bit better. So yeah, we started off trying to just making like smaller games, kind of looking into it a bit more, and then understanding you need a bit of development. We didn't really have that as a trio. We had no development background, so we kind of went in there blinded. But from there, we started to look at some devs, which is an interesting part of our journey.
Yeah, this is I call it the story of 8 devs, because we obviously, as he said, we're all designers. There are no developers in our team, so we go around looking for people, trying to get kind of a 3-to-3 basis. Maybe want to join in our passion project and help us out. After about a month or two, they'll just drop off and say, "No, this isn't for me." Find another one. Yeah, this isn't for me. After 8 devs in 2 years, we decided that maybe we could develop it ourselves in this time. So we started to learn to develop ourselves. This is what brings us on to Unity. If you see that top bit there with the little circles, there you go. You got the
laser.
Yeah, this was one of our first projects. We were using Unity. There's a plugin called Playmaker, which helped us a lot. It's like visual coding. None of us, again, are coders, so visual coding was definitely the way to go for us. And it helped us kind of develop this very simple puzzle game, and then gain the confidence to get it onto the Apple Store and Google Play Store, and just getting to that level makes you feel like maybe it's possible, and you just need a little bit more experience, and maybe we can make this happen.
And then from there, me and Taylor were seeing the progress Max was having on Playmaker. We decided to dive into C#. That was another interesting part. So again, none of us having a development background. I kind of went deep into there, started coding raw. These boys, rather than stopping me saying like, you probably don't want to do that, they let me go straight into there. It was a bit stressful, but it was interesting because again, that was kind of our first stages of problem solving, understanding kind of the small little problems and hurdles we'll come across. And then rather than us flaking and kind of just giving up, we thought, you know what, let's try to persist on it and try to get through it. And we did. And then that brought us into kind of Dodgecrafts. And with that, again, me and Taylor were working together. We had to work with like time management. Again, we were all doing this with full-time jobs. So it was literally coming home, like me being really strict, like 2 hours after work, getting on it. And then, like you said, like there was a lot of times where you just wanted to give up. But because we had each other, we were just like, okay, cool, now, ask a question here, go online, see forums, just try to get some answers for it, really.
You make it sound so sweet, yes. We had each other.
But yeah, one of the main things we kind of learned from after going through making these 2 games was take marketing seriously, because it got to the point we put out Dodgecrafts, and us being a new gaming company, we were just like, it's going to get 10,000 downloads. It's just going to all of this is going to translate. Everyone's going to love us. It came out and it was like 200 downloads, and it was like just eating that humble pie, which it was needed. It was needed, you know what I mean? But it allowed us to just kind of push through, and that was kind of something that we experienced that kind of knocked us back, or like a first hurdle that we managed. we managed to overcome. And that leads us next into branding. When we first started, we looked at gaming companies as a whole, and we always wanted to know behind the scenes of what our favorite, let's say, developers were like. So, for example, mine's Hideo Kojima or Metal Gear Solid, but you don't really get to see what his life's like behind that. And if you compare it to other industries, like music, we'll watch stuff on Worldstar Hip Hop, we'll see Wiz Khalifa, we'll see the behind the scenes. Might not even like his music, but we like him. And then after liking him, then you're just like, let me try and like what he's doing. And just trying to bring that all into kind of the gaming industry. That was kind of our approach when it came to branding, and us all coming from design backgrounds. We thought this is definitely something we'll be able to push within the gaming industry and kind of experiment with that.
And then, I guess through that process, we kind of figured out it worked. It was just like, wow, this side actually works. So yeah, we realized that branding's super important. And I guess for us, we wanted to try to put our personalities out there. Do you know what I mean? We did obviously wanted to make the games, and it was great, but we kind of wanted a bigger picture, and the narrative of our personalities will push us further and push our kind of vision further. We wanted to do in the gaming industry. So that was a nice kind of a little achievement for us.
Yeah. And it's got us to where we are today. Like, we're not the best programmers, we wouldn't even say that. But we've got a story to tell, and we know how to tell it well, to the point where we're up in front of everyone here telling our story, and it's kind of being able to resonate with people that we project us further. This is how we first started implementing our branding. So we had everything set up from brand guidelines when we initially started gaming, creating our gaming company. And that led us to creating our website. We first had one on Squarespace.
Yeah, something simple.
And then we started collaborating with Max's friend, who was at your work, who we're still working with now.
PHP developer.
And he made like a proper website for us, which kind of allowed people to come onto our website and us to show them everything we've done, from our videos to the games we've made. We even started our own like little newsletter series called By Orthors, just to give updates on what we're pretty much doing, other things that we find interesting within the gaming industry, and just trying to push our brand to the forefront in order to get us into these rooms and allow us to progress.
I guess another thing, just adding on from there, is like we just realized that like things like our landing pages, like our socials, our websites, are just really important, because I guess that's when people come to your pages, that's I guess their first sense of who you are and what you do. So we wanted to make sure that we can promote that as much as possible on our website. So that's why we kind of went through a little bit of a revamp stage, I guess. Again, we have a lot of interesting parts to our journey because it's a lot of start and stops. But so we did a bit of a rebranding and we redesigned our logo. This was a point where we went to an what was it? It was like
It was a launch.
It was a launch party.
Assemble with Care.
Yeah, that was Assemble with Care, and Mills actually approached us and was kind of really excited. He was explaining the idea, explaining who we are, and he basically just said, it doesn't really make that much sense. And we was just like, oh man, really? And we was just like, God damn it. So, but obviously, yeah, we kind of thought that, but then we thought this is actually our first constructive criticism, and we took it on the chin. So we went back, we sat down, and we just stripped it all back, the logo all back. This enabled us to make our values, to actually write down and talk as a group of what we wanted to do with Orthors, what we want to align our company with, and what we want to do further. So yeah, we had the chance to rebrand ourselves. And again, like this was like the first time we kind of took criticism and then we kind of flipped it to a win to help us. And then also using this to kind of teach each other processes. So Taylor studies in graphic design, and I can happily say that I'm not too great at graphic design, but I learned processes through him. So it enabled us to work as a team together and learn off each other, which was really nice. And then also just the interesting part is trying to talk to the industry through design and branding. And as we said before, it's been a kind of a major point in us because a lot of people resonate and enjoy our branding and how we project ourselves. And then through our logo and the way we've set it up, we can also see it happening properly and actually working for us. So it's been a really good achievement for us.
And even to how we've come now, everyone's wearing our Orthors t-shirts. Like this is how we usually roll into events. it's easy for people to strike up a convo because there's something that they've seen and they're just like, oh, what's that? And then boom, we're in. We're able to talk to people. So yeah, really pushed our branding really well. It's allowed us. I think it's one of the strongest parts of us as a business, which then takes us to actually running the business. Which, when you first start, we were bare naive. We were just like, we don't ever need to think about business. We can think about that when we're making money and just leave that behind. And whereas that was good because it allowed us to dabble into gaming and proper get into there. It got about a year and a bit in, and Max's dad was just like, if you want to take this seriously, you need to
Get an accountant. You need to be a proper business and get an accountant and put yourselves under some real pressure, turn it from a hobby into a business.
And yeah, I guess that is probably where maybe some indie kind of companies can find it tough, because obviously you want to be so creative and you want to stay on that path as much as possible. But then the business side of things is hard. Like, it's not fun. If you're really creative, you've got to do a lot of reading, a lot of kind of words that are thrown at you. You're just like, what the heck is that word? But in essence, it helps you in the long run when you come to certain other things down the line. So like, as Max said, it was good for us getting an accountant because he helped us out with like setting up certain like payments, understanding when it comes to like employees in that sense. And understanding one of the main things as well is that it costs to run a business. And I think that's a lot of people sometimes even forget about that or just don't want to think about that so often. But yeah, it costs to run a business, and just through conversations with Samir, he was just like, you need to find ways to keep afloat. And obviously we were trying to do it through the games and have it in-app purchases and whatnot. But we started to try to branch out and brainstorm of other ways that we can try to keep afloat. So we're trying to see if we can do talks, trying to see if we can do some merchandise as well, and just try to be a bit more versatile in who we are as a company and how we can kind of branch out and stay on top of things, I guess.
And that's also led into investment. So us setting up the business has also led into parts where we've looked into getting investment, and because we've had the business set up, we can go back and talk to our accountant and be like, he'll normally ask us, what have you learned from the people that you've gone and seen or spoken to at different conferences and stuff. We'll tell him about certain tax reliefs that we can get. He'll go and research it, maybe refer us to someone, or we can refer him to someone. So it's like we have a good relationship with our accountant as well, to where we're able to kind of share ideas. And he's never wanted to be rigid where it's just like, oh, this is what I think is right. He's always allowed us to kind of explore
and evolve
ideas. Yeah. And he's involved and he pushes us. So I guess we could say that it's good to actually find the right kind of business partners as well.
Yeah. We're very lucky to have an accountant we're quite close to.
Yeah. I think it's around the same age as us, isn't it, as well?
Yeah. I guess from there, adding on another major kind of point in our company was we had to let a member go, and it wasn't just a member; it was still a good friend of ours. But I think that was kind of like the wake up call to like, okay, we are taking this, to the serious step. And it was hard. I was like the HR. I was like, oh my god, how do you do this? How do you do this comfortably? So it was tough, but again, that was another moment where we was just like, okay, we're at this stage in Orthors now where we're letting people go, and it made us be like, in terms of shares and whatnot. Again, Samir was kind of talking about this. He was just like, these are your shares, like these are really valuable. I'm just like, oh my days, guys, we don't let this go now. Whoever's coming next into Orthors, my days, they're gonna work for that. So it was a tough moment for us. And
and we got let off lightly because even letting our friend go, we then learned that Samir, who's our accountant, was telling us he doesn't actually need to leave. You've got equal shares, so it's good that we got this out in like the early stages, and we pretty much learned like if we have the situation again where we're going to give people shares in our company, we've got to think about it in detail, because if he was to just say, no, I don't want to leave, then we would have essentially been stuck. But yeah, it's all been a really good, interesting learning curve, and it's just allowed us to flourish and networking as well. It's allowed us to, even to this point, we're in contact with like Barclays and we're doing stuff with them. Again, that's to do with business moves as well. So yeah, it's all been.
Network's important. It's an interesting network. I think more people are doing it now, but what did you say earlier on? I hope Samir and Council don't hear this, but networking is sometimes more valuable than money. Only because it can get you further in certain places. And again, like through our journey, I know some people can find it hard to network, whether it's in the social space or it's online, but we do say like network is like super important. Like we've networked with some really good people into the point that they've come back to help us, even on their own, being on their own terms. You just didn't expect them to message us. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, we've got this coming up." And we're just like, "Whoa, thank you very much." So yeah, I think that's one of the best things we've done is network, and we hope everybody else can like network as well today and for everyone if they go to other conferences and talks.
And this leads us on to COVID. So we've just explained like the kind of different parts towards running our business, which we concentrate on. And COVID's kind of, when it came around, obviously it's been a terrible experience for everyone. And yeah, as everyone knows, it's just been hard. But in terms of when it comes to running a company, it's been like the best thing that could have happened to us, because all the time we were working full time, we got Yasin got furloughed.
Yeah.
Max, well.
Whoa. It was unlucky for some. Where were you, Max?
I was on a 2-week holiday to Barbados. I got stuck for 2 months. So, I wasn't complaining.
He was sending us photos midday in the sea, in the clear sea in shorts.
Yeah, I was doing that a lot.
Apparently struggling.
A lot. I was struggling.
But yeah, it essentially gave us time to work full time. On Orthors.
The first time we were able to work full time, really.
Yeah. So
it's been running for like what? How many years?
We've been going since 2015.
So that was a good
So it was the first time,
4 or 5 years.
We really got to just experience full time. And the first thing we dived into was
by Orthors. So yeah, as we kind of mentioned earlier on, we kind of were trying to dabble in ways of how we could promote ourselves. And through COVID, we kind of rebirthed and thought about how we can visually promote ourselves a bit better. And we did this through by Orthors. Essentially is a way of us showcasing our journey. Again, like behind the scenes. It's very hard for some people to actually understand what it is to run a business or to even just make a game. There's certain things when it comes to finance, when it comes to employing people, when it comes to thinking of your ideas. It started off very, very vague at the bottom with bootleg airways, because it was very bootleg, just me and Taylor thinking of ideas at home and how we could video record it. But from then, we kind of saw the importance of it. And essentially, the reason to why we started Orthors and why we started to make this is because we wanted to give back to the people. We realized that when we were looking into the gaming industry, there's no one that we could look up to represent us. So we wanted to make sure when we're doing our journey, we're also giving back. So with By Orthors, with us recording our stages and getting up to being $1 million company making ridiculous money, we'll show you how it started from the bottom and how we got there. So yeah, we like with our series, we just show kind of us doing our meetings, us collaborating with our friends. Like we've been working with our community. Even right now, we've got our friend Ramo over there doing some recording.
Around the corner then.
Around the corner
very
there.
Sneaky, very sneaky.
And with that, it's kind of just like building the community around us, because essentially they get to be in spaces that they may not be in their own kind of avenue. And we wanted to make sure we can build those bridges with our creative sides. So that's essentially what By Orthors is. We were just able to kind of, again, like work a bit more on our creative skills. Like I was saying, working with Taylor, learning how to do a bit more designing, learning how to do a bit more branding for ourselves.
I'd also say it's probably the best way for us to get ourselves across, because as you know from what we've been saying, the brand is all about us and the culture we're trying to create. Yeah. And that's hard to write up and put onto a website or whatever. Yeah. It's hard to speak that. So
we can do video what we're doing now. But really, what you lot want to see is when we're having drinks, how we are there. That's what By Orthors will show you. That will show you the real us and the behind the scenes, the little nitty gritty. So that was the first stage of COVID, and then obviously we weren't spending all of our time doing By Orthors. We then went on to updating Dodge Club. So as we said before, it only got about 200 to 300 downloads, and we're like, you know what? Let's redo the UI. Let's add a new game mode, and let's try and put this back on the App Store and kind of focus on the market and see what we can build, and see how far we can take it. Now we put it out once, let's see if we can redo it and build on those numbers. So yeah, we got everything ready, which again, you'd think it would just be something easy, but stress, problems with COVID, it just became a long process. But we finally got it done within about 2 months. 2 months already. I feel like it was. I would say 2 weeks, but it was 2 months. It was quite long. But then our mentor, I don't know if you lot know about Us Two Games. We were very fortunate. I don't even know how.
He met us through networking.
He met us through network. He met
us through Twitter.
And he shouted us and he said, "Come through." And we were just like, "Wait, that's the Monument Valley guy." We was like, "Oh my gosh, he wants us to come to the studio." So from early, we've been in contact with him, and he's really helped us. And he was like, "Yeah, do you wanna do a press release?" And if Danny says do a press release, then you listen. And you do a press release. Yeah, that's some good advice. So yeah, we ended up doing the whole press release. Then we were thinking of getting in contact with people like Korea. I used to work for a newspaper, CAM, so we knew we could get into the newspaper, just thinking of different ways, brainstorming different people that we could get in contact with. And then Danny got in contact with us again, and he was like, "Do you want to get in contact with Apple?" Sure. It's Apple. And yeah, we just ended up speaking to Apple, and really, they wanted to know about our story, so they didn't even care too much about the game. They were just like, "What do you stand for?" We ended up being Game of the Week. Which was
Black History Month,
surprising, which was really cool and shocking. And it allowed us to hit lots of opportunities which we were just not ready for at all. It was proper sick.
Yeah, I guess it was a snowball effect essentially. So again, like, it was amazing being promoted on Apple, and it just opened avenues and opened more doors to us that we wouldn't get a chance to do. So again, we were fortunate to talk on Facebook Live, which was pretty sick. We was on BBC Radio, which is really cool. Getting featured again on like Courier magazine and being featured on Apple, and we just got a bit more exposure, which is really nice. And again, it came from networking and just having the conversation with certain people, just asking how your day's going, and then eventually Danny Gray will I'm not saying Danny Gray will come and talk to you, but somebody else might just come and give you an opportunity and be like, "Hey, this is going, you might think it might be useful for you." So yeah, man, it was it was really good for us because we got to see kind of, again, like, the effects of networking and how it can project you further.
And also we realized we could get paid from talks, which we never knew was a thing until Facebook got in contact with us, and they were just like, "Yeah, we're ready to give you this much." And we're just like, "Okay, cool, that can share between us." And they were just like, "No, each." And we're just like, "Oh. Just like, okay."
So he was happy. He was just like, we listened to him.
So yeah, after Dodge Crafts, let's take it back to Kobe.
Yeah, we kind of went back to an old character we wanted to make before. It was, I'm sure you guys know, there aren't many black characters in the industry other than maybe CJ from GTA, which is very stereotypical. So we wanted to kind of create an authentic new character, something very different. I only really realized there weren't many characters when I went to Comic-Con and I was trying to dress up, and there was no one for me to really dress up as. And I didn't want to be like Black Mario or like mixed race Link or something. Like, no, I want to be the real deal. So, again, why wait for the industry to make these characters for you when you can do it yourself? So,
and that's kind of much how the kind of idea of Kobe started. And this started from before we even got out the first Dodge Crafts, but we knew we weren't at the level yet to start making these games. So we've just started developing. So this whole idea was a bit too big. So we thought, after Dodge Crafts, we'll definitely get on to making Kobe, which is what essentially happened. We finished making Dodge Crafts. We had already written up kind of a story, character profiles. We based it on ourselves, so it was someone relatable to us, and we thought, if it's relatable to us, then it'll be relatable to the rest of our community. And that got us in touch with a concept artist that we knew, again, through networking, through going to different events. We came up we found our concept artist, and we literally started working with him. And it taught, one of the main things it taught us was how to actually manage someone. We've been managing ourselves before, and it's just like getting prepared. I remember the first time we started speaking to him, and he asked us like, "Okay, what's next?" And then we were just like,
That was a very tense Google Meet call with me and Taylor. It was like, yeah, he's already on the next thing.
we're gonna have to get back to you. We're gonna have to get back to you on that one.
But yeah, no, it was as Taylor said, it was I guess our first start of like managing an individual and having our first employee, I guess. And we were paying him. We weren't even paying ourselves. And it was with COVID. Just like, man, we need to make sure we get our money's worth here because we're paying him. But again, it was all good. Like, it was all, again, another learning curve for us, like to understand finances. Again, talking with Samir, he told us things through like the pros and cons of having like a freelancer or employing somebody. You know, there's certain things that some people may not know, and it can divot you afterwards. So yeah, it was a really important and interesting period of time for us to learn a bit more. And then from there, like we kind of realized that it was an interesting moment working with concept artists. And then it was a bit of like a realization for us. I think we figured out that the project was way bigger than we thought it would be. And when we started to break down the layers. So we kind of like going back on things, and we're just going through the layers. It was just like, okay, we need to do that. Okay, we need to do that. We need to do that. And we was like,
And then Danny came back
again.
Danny always comes back at the right time.
It's like a little angel.
He is like an angel, and he pretty much told us, it was like, there's too much going on. You kind of need to strip back the idea. Kobe as well was made kind of between me and Max. So it was Yasin kind of chiming in on our ideas, but it not being his idea as well. So Dan was like, strip everything back. And we ended up having a couple workshops with Dan on Google Meets and just developing this new game idea which we had, which was changing perspectives. And again, we wanted to have like a black narrative, and we wanted to kind of tell the story of like, without Bible bashing the audience, we wanted to tell the story of what it could be like to have that experience, the black experience. And we partnered that with Change of Perspective. So it would be like a stealth-based game, for example, and you would be sneaking around, and you would be able to change perspectives in order to sneak around. And we thought that's a good play on like change of perspectives, allowing people to understand each other, and also when it comes to props within game mechanics, should I say, and being able to change perspectives. So we were kind of using that kind of play on stuff to build, this new game which we were developing. Whilst this was happening, it got to the stage now where I'd worked on Dodgecrafts, and then we were also working on Kobe, but then it was like lots of setbacks, and it was just a lot of time coding, a lot of time not going nowhere, and getting back into like buy Orthors and stuff during COVID. My design passion was coming back, and I was just like, I don't really want to code at the moment. It's long and it's slow, and that kind of led us into looking into investment, because I didn't want to be the main programmer anymore. He gave I gave I didn't want to be the main programmer anymore. But again, that led us into trying to find funding, going to different meetings, doing talks. We even ended up, was it London Games Festival?
Yeah, London Games Festival. I was going through doing like accelerators. I think I was on a Virgin one, and again, that was just dropping knowledge that sometimes you just won't see online. Useful things like doing like tax reliefs, learning how to do like financial budgets as well, which is very useful if you wanted to get that type of investment. And it just made us kind of think again, like sat down as a group and kind of think, what direction do we want with Change of Perspective? Because I guess we would have to go through that investment stage to make this game happen. Do you know what I mean? So it was actually going through everything, not just the gaming and creative side of it, also like the business side of how this game will come about. So yeah, from there, kind of we were just building contacts, and then so whilst this was actually happening, kind of whilst me and Taylor were in London, and Max is unfortunately still in Barbados. But whilst he was out there, he was actually working on something called Orthors Arcade. So Yeah, Max, you wanna?
Yeah, I mean, this was just, again, I just kind of started another passion project, really. I was getting kind of bogged down with kind of the bigger projects, and I still have a passion for like little puzzle games and little small things and just apps in general. I like small games, small projects. And so I wanted to create our own platform where we could kind of bring our audience in and kind of, well, continue making small games for this platform and then bring our social gathering together and have like a hub where our games and maybe other friends, other developers we have are putting their games up there and we're all kind of just building together, which brings us to, the Authors Arcade.
Arcade.
I hope any of that made sense. I don't know.
So when we kind of started, when Max started the Orthors Arcade, it was also like a side project. And it was a time where because you were in Barbados, we were like split. So
It was kind of built from frustration.
and from frustration,
We had enough of like putting stuff on Apple and putting stuff on Google, and we couldn't do it our way. So we were just like, do you know what? Let's just make this gaming platform, and we can make our own little games, and we can just put it up in there, and it will be fun.
Yeah.
So
And whilst Max was stressed as well, we were just like stressed from the COVID pressure, just everything was stressed, and it was just like rather than be like, no, we need to concentrate on this. It was like, you know what, just do your thing. I mean, me and Yasin will get stuff ready over here. And when you're back, we'll kind of meet up, we'll collaborate and see where it's at. But what ended up happening was we got to a point where Authors Arcade was now, it seemed like a side project, but then when we actually evaluated it, it was like, okay, this is actually a big project. We can't just run this on the side of the Authors games. We were thinking, us having experience talking to investors, it's like, if we went to an investor meeting and he saw this or she saw this, they would be like, you've got to choose between one. So us just saying that to ourselves, we knew we'd have to make a big choice. Is it going to be us doing the black narrative games that we've been pretty much preaching about? This is what our whole kind of foundation kind of built on, trying to bring these narratives to life. Or are we now going to go with something newer and fresher, which is the Authors Arcade, which doesn't apply as much to what we were trying to get at the beginning? And we ended up going for Authors Arcade for one of the biggest reasons was we actually had a working prototype, which we didn't have of the game. If you want to talk about that a little bit, just working with Jay to get stuff ready.
Yeah, I guess so. I was working with a good friend of mine to build this product. Like Taylor was saying, it was just nice to get a working prototype and have something that you can show and say, this is ours, we built it. And yeah, so it's working and ready to go. So if anyone wants to sign up to the Authors Arcade, sign up.
little promotion.
Yeah, little promotion.
Yeah, well, I think for us again, this was a bit of a, as Taylor said, it was a bit of a major kind of pivoting point, and some companies or some businesses can find it hard to pivot away from something that they've been kind of going down for a very long time. So once we decided to go down this route, we kind of looked at the pros and cons. It was just like, okay, with Authors Arcade, we can kind of use all our attributes together. We can work as one on this. And then again, whilst we were building it, we started to go through our pillars. We realized that as it may not be as direct as a black character in the industry, but we can again also implement using our community. So as I said, with Orthors Arcade, we want to try to involve our community as much as possible. We do realize there's a lot of independent like developers out there that sometimes don't have the space to be putting it up on like major platforms because they can get lost. But with Orthors Arcade, they can come in to hit our space, and then we can impose that to the best of our community as possible. We wanted to add our culture as well. So we're really proud of our culture, and it's nice to put your culture into things that you do. And as you said, kind of with our branding, we wanted to make sure we've put in our culture into Orthors Arcade, and also just trying to be innovative with like what we do and make sure we have like the right UI and UX that appeals to the right people. So then when you're coming to Orthors Arcade and what we do, kind of you feel our presence and you feel what our kind of ethos is with Orthors Arcade. So that was kind of why we thought, you know what, I think we will pause on Kobe and Changes Reflexives and we'll direct with Orthors Arcade.
And pretty much going forward with this, we've got to a stage now where we're currently going through an accelerator on the games festivals. We've got a mentor called Tracy. I don't know if she's here. because she might be driving down now. But yeah, she's got us to the stage of kind of getting us to produce our product roadmap, and it's a difficult process because we want to be creative. We want to just go out there and start making stuff, but you've got to strip everything back and make sure everything's in order. Again, going through like these business procedures, which seem really long, but once we've got that all planned out, which hopefully should be done within the next 2 weeks or so, we'll then be able to like go full ahead and just plow into our creativity at full force. And also through doing this, we're making small games again. And we said we wanted to introduce Black narrative, so we've actually started making small games again. We've taken the pressure kind of off ourselves. Us being like one of the only Black-owned games company in the UK, we kind of had that pressure of, we've got to stand for something. We've got to be the people that people look at and just say, oh, look, that's the Black-owned games company. And that pressure was a bit too much for us, and it was making us create big projects which we couldn't complete. So going back to like our roots and creating small projects, small mechanics, and just kind of adding that Black narrative to it, or different ways which we think we can incorporate that Black narrative, we think will be really, really good for us and just allow us to flourish again naturally. And it all being on our hub as well, you'll be able to see all the kind of progression happening all at the same time. We got a couple lessons from this. I think one of the main ones was us just trying to improve our business practices as well. Like we've even given ourselves timesheets and stuff now, so we can go back and look after a month and see, okay, if you're working full time, you've worked this amount of time, how much time has been wasted, and then these things are going to relate to business in the future. So if we do get investment, it's going to be us that's going to be having to organize these things in the future. So it's better to get prepared pretty much now rather than wait until have a relapse of what happened with our concept artists and people just be looking at us just like, what are you doing? But yeah, that's pretty much where we're at with now, which leads us to pretty much this slide.
Yeah, I mean, your reaction said it all. This whole talk's been just an absolute mess. Our whole journey is chaotic, but I feel like amongst us, we feel some kind of success. We feel we're in the right place and we're heading in the right direction, even if it did take a little detour. But
many detours.
Yeah, many detours. I think the main thing for us, and we always do, I guess we're like small fishes in this very big pond, but it's that thing of being persistent. I'm pretty sure, hopefully you guys have some projects out there that you might be working on, or there might be some little things that you're doing. But yeah, it's just about being persistent, kind of just knocking on doors, talking to the right people, figuring out some answers. Yeah, you might have to cry a couple of times here and there, but you make it through the day. And yeah, just essentially just keeping at it, and then you just start hitting your little hurdles and your little quotas through the year, and you should be fine. Yeah, that's pretty much us. Thanks for listening to us. I hope it was very helpful and you enjoyed our story. If you wanted to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, please do it at Orthors Official. As I said, we've got the By Orthors series, which is on YouTube. So please do comment, like, and subscribe. Make sure you take the mick out of these two, because I'm the best one in there. We obviously got Orthors Arcade up and running, so please do sign up and have a go on there as well. I think we've got like 5 minutes for any questions. Or anybody got any questions? Yeah. Hey, somebody.
Have you guys considered using Patreon as a way to reverse? What's that?
Oh, I think we got a mic for you, bro.
Look at that.
Hey, predict your voice.
It was a pretty decent voice.
Thank you. Basically, I was wondering if you considered using Patreon to diversify your revenue streams, because I know a lot of, for example, just because I have a friend who's trying to push a lot of more like queer-related content, a lot of queer games go on Patreon and get tons of funding because they're hitting that niche that still doesn't exist in the industry, especially for for a black-owned company. I think you could find potentially some revenue through that.
We haven't looked into that, so we'll be talking to you.
What is your next
It's been like 10 years, man. So let's catch up again.
Cool. So what's your name?
Oh, come on,
that's me. Come on. We'll catch you very soon. I guess the easy answer is no. So this is why we talk to people.
I definitely think after the roadmap, we can definitely, we'll have something planned. Once we've got the roadmap done, it will definitely work. Oh,
Question.
Sorry,
got another one.
we've
got
got
time?
somebody here. We've got enough time for another question.
Hey,
Thanks for the question, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right, yeah?
Yeah, what's up, man?
Great presentation, by the way. That was really awesome.
Thank you.
Just wondering, in terms of like, I'm really intrigued to know, maybe I'll find this out if I kind of follow you on YouTube, but what's your day-to-day like? Because I see, 3 young business leaders, and I'm just wondering, are you kind of guys, you chatting every day? Is it kind of like, end of the week, what's happening? Are you doing face-to-face stuff? What's a normal week like? for you guys?
What's a normal week like?
Well, we start with the Monday meeting. So he works at his architecture firm.
Yeah.
Good lad. After work, he comes down to mine. Taylor does as well. And we have our Monday meeting. We kind of work through what we're going to do throughout the week. And then through the week, me and Taylor usually talk over FaceTime or whatnot, and just keep it going through the day. And then Yasin will jump in at lunchtime and maybe again at the end of the day. So it's just working around.
Yeah, I think
around that time.
we've learned to be versatile. Like you said, it's really hard to keep afloat, and I'm still full-time. These boys are lucky to be freelancing. But again, through the years and kind of through our hurdles, we've just learned how to be on our time management, how to keep everybody on the same page and on the same loop. It's very important when you're working in a team, and it is very easy to kind of just like break off. You know, you can have a team member that can just be busy in their life. It could be work or whatever. But again, like as Max said, the Monday meetings keeping us in line and keeping us in check, and then we just always just kind of keeping up to date with each other, having conversations, group chats, not too many memes, you get distracted. But yeah, and just making sure we liaise with each other and we can all understand what's happening in each other's minds. But yeah, so what's your name? No, nice to meet you, Mal. Thanks for the question. We've got another question. We've got another two more.
What's our time like? Yeah, any thumbs up?
Do you have enough time? Yeah? 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You got 30 seconds, brother.
I just have a lot of respect for what you guys are doing, and I just wanted to know like how I could support you. So I currently work as a programmer for PlayStation, and you said that you kind of like needing to have programmers to teach you, and I just wanted to know how I can help to support your journey, I suppose.
Yeah, right.
come
Come
speak to us
talk
after.
to us, man. Yeah. Or if you follow us, and then we'll follow you back, and then we'll just drop you a message and DM you. But yeah, I'll definitely catch us after this, man.
Yeah, man.
Nice meeting you, bro. Thank you.
Hey, I wondered whether you'd explored or tried any work for hire stuff as a revenue stream, like alongside, making your own stuff.
Have thought about it. We have thought about it. We just haven't really executed it, I guess.
It's weird because we thought when we first started to do changing perspectives and get the black narrative out, we were all thinking about it then. But then as we pivoted to Orthors Arcade, it's like we had to start again. So it's like we took a back step. But I think definitely, once we've got the roadmap out and that's kind of laid out, then we'll be able to be like, okay, cool. We need a developer. We've got a second iteration coming. We need this. Now let's look at different ways. Is hiring someone going to be an option? And then just looking into
It requires a good plan, doesn't it? Really, it requires a good plan.
A good plan goes a long way.
And then we can execute.
But thanks for the question.
Yeah.
No worries.
I think that's all it.
I think that's us, unfortunately. But we shall be here at the bar, roaming around.
Definitely catch me at the bar.
You get me a virgin mojito if you want. But yeah, no, thanks for having us. I hope you have an amazing day. And yeah, if you've got any more questions, feel free to just come give us a shout. But thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.